joined by Scott Allison from our partner organisation CLEAN, who some of you may already know. I'm just going to share my screen with you, so hopefully you can all see the presentation. Just some brief housekeeping before we commence. I'd like to remind you all that you've been automatically muted, as this is a listen-only webinar. But that said, we do encourage active participation. So we have on the webinar a chat box appearing on the right-hand side if you click on the chat symbol at the bottom. Here in the text box, you can type in your questions or comments as we go along. And this is a really easy way to log your questions during the presentations, and we'll make sure we get to them either after the presentations, or if we run out of time on this webinar, we'll follow up with you all afterwards to answer them. This webinar is also recorded to share with those who may have been unable to make it today, and the link to the recording will also be shared with you all following the webinar. And if you've logged in via your web browser, so not the app, there were 2 links in the webinar invitation. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see the chat box, but please ask your questions via email either to myself or to Scott during or after the presentation, and we will follow up with you. I'm just going to check some of the comments in the chat box. Right. Finally, if you've logged on but you haven't typed in your name or your organisation, please could you click on the drop-down menu on the right-hand corner of your screen and select pod options and click on edit my information and then enter your name and title. And so now onto the main webinar content. So it's fantastic to be able to welcome you all to the Athens CSP webinar today. This webinar is the first activity in the City Solutions Platform innovation process for the City of Athens. And this is really the beginning of what will be a very exciting year working with Athens to find innovative and effective climate solutions to their urban heat island effect challenge within the city. I will briefly talk about the upcoming process, which we're delighted that you will be a part in. And then I will hand over to Lenio Mervelli, who is the Deputy Mayor for Urban Nature, Resilience and Climate Change at the City of Athens, as well as Elisabeth Bargiano and Anastasia Gika, to talk about the specific challenge within the City of Athens. And then following the City of Athens' presentation, Scott will then pose some of your pre-submitted questions to Elisabeth and Anastasia and their resiliency team to answer and provide more detail for this challenge and what a successful solution could look like for the city. But first, I will briefly go through the City Solutions Platform programme. Following the 2015 Paris Agreement, cities across the world have announced ambitious emission reduction targets and are working hard to deliver climate resilient and climate mitigation projects. It's critical that cities work with the full range of stakeholders to implement their climate action goals. And by leveraging the resources and strengths of both the city and the private sector partners, we can make the most of the broad range of expertise, strategic interests, and financial capacity to provide low carbon solutions within cities. Public-private collaboration often lacks an engagement process to work with other stakeholders towards a common vision, and the City Solutions Platform programme aims to provide this. The City Solutions Platform has been a successful programme for C40 and CLEAN over the last 2 years, and we have facilitated a process which supports C40 member cities to co-create effective solutions to a specific climate challenge with a range of private sector partners, academic institutions, citizen groups, and other solution providers. And last year, the City Solutions Platform successfully facilitated the creation and implementation of solutions to many specific city climate challenges, ranging from inefficient city transportation systems to city district flood control and better city waste management. And now, we believe that through this strategic collaboration with yourselves and the facilitated City Solutions Platform innovation process, we can find actionable, creative solutions to the most pressing problems in Athens. And so now we're really ready to commence. And the real excitement is the ability to jointly create new, effective and implementable solutions to Athens' climate challenge. The rest of the 97 C40 member cities could also look towards the Athens solutions to see if the ideas generated could help them. And the first step in this process is about further framing the challenge, and that's where we are now. So this webinar, where we've invited you all as industry experts, academic researchers and other solution providers, will first and foremost present the challenge to all of you and give you the opportunity to submit any initial questions that you might have to be presented to the senior key stakeholders and decision makers within the City of Athens. Based on this webinar, we will develop the agenda for this face-to-face workshop, which will be hosted in Athens in September this year. At this workshop, we will have the City of Athens' senior decision makers present, and hopefully there'll be many of you there too. and we'll briefly present the challenge, and we will have 2 whole days of co-creation facilitated activities. We'll work with you to develop the solutions in slightly more detail, and then you can jointly create these climate solutions directly with the city. And at the end of the second workshop day, the final high-level co-created solutions are presented by yourselves to the city decision makers. And all solutions are then worked on with the city, with support from C40 and CLEAN, and a route to how we can implement these solutions will be designed. And so this is the overall process for the programme. And I'll now hand over to the City of Athens, who will then start to present their climate challenge in slightly more detail. And just a reminder that any questions you may have related to the challenge, please feel free to write in the chat box, or you can also send it to either myself or Scott Allison afterwards. So briefly to hand over, Professor Eleni Mervili is Deputy Mayor for the Urban Nature, Resilience and Climate Change Adaptation for the City of Athens. She was appointed in January 2018, and as Chief Resilience Officer for Athens, she created the first Office of Resilience and Sustainability within the Mayor's Office. Her colleague Elisabeth Bargiani is a landscape architect with work experience in the UK and in the City of Athens. And as a city staff for the last 15 years, she's been working for the management and restoration of the Athens National Garden, the design department of the Urban Nature Directorate, and most recently for the Athens Resilience and Sustainability Office. And finally, Anastasia Gika holds a chemical engineering diploma and has 10 years of experience as a technical and administrative manager in the EU projects. And she's currently collaborating with the Resilience and Sustainability Office for the City of Athens. So over to you.
Kate, hi. I would like to take the floor for a couple of minutes to welcome everybody and say that we're very excited for the beginning of this great process. Let me figure out the sound because we have some reverberation. Just a second. Απλώς κάνε mute το τέτοιο σου. Change cameras and microphones. So let me once again welcome everybody, and I would like from the City of Athens let you know that this is an extremely exciting opportunity for us. We really need to figure out new approaches to the way that we deal with these particular spaces, and we will be we're very happy to present to you what our challenge is, and Elisabeth, who's right next to me, will be taking the floor in a minute. But I would like to pass to you a specific request from the Mayor of Athens, who just called me to his office half an hour ago, and asked me to mobilize our networks, our C40 network, as well as 100RC network, for the following reason. As you probably know, we recently had these extremely destructive fires in the northeast of Athens. It's different municipalities, however, they're very close to Athens. They're about 25 kilometers away from us. And the toll has been extremely high because we lost about 85. The deaths have risen today to 85 people that were burned by the fire. Many houses were destroyed, but also a large part of forested areas have been totally decimated. We have different foundations from mostly from the US and England that are proposing to fundraise for us and help the municipality of Athens provide for the needs of these particular areas that have been so challenged the last couple of days. And after a deep kind of research that we did, it became obvious that the needs are at the time covered. So we don't have an emergency crisis right now as far as the immediate needs of the people. So the Mayor of Athens thought that what really would be something that we would like to fund as with this money that the foundations can probably gather for us, which we don't know exactly the amount right now. But what we would like to propose is an approach to reforestation that focuses on resilience. How can you have the challenges? How can you have an area that is both residential and forested in Southern Europe? How can you reforest this area, taking into consideration resilience from the point of view of fires and from the point of view of safety of these particular kind of areas? Do we have such examples, and how would we actually propose? How can we articulate the call for such a study? And we are not prepared to do such a thing in the municipality of Athens right now. So basically what I'm asking from you is if we could have from you a short description, a description of the call of what would such a study include, and how can this be presented to our founders, to these foundations that want to fundraise for us, in order to do a more long-term and a more sustainable and resilient approach to these neighborhoods that have been challenged. So after we finish this call of today, I am at your disposal. I will leave my phone and my email so we can get in touch for this. The sooner we can get this, better. Even today, the mayor asked me if we could find a short description, like a treatment for such a study as soon as possible. And thank you very much. And I give now the floor to Elisabeth Bariani, and I should give you my chair too, which is more comfortable, to continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Well, that's a second challenge for you all. Good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for your interest and your time to attend this webinar. It's been a great honor and pleasure to present the Athens Challenge to you all today, and we really look forward for your active participation in the process to come in the following months. We will start by giving you some brief context information about our city. Athens is the largest city in Greece, covering an area of almost 39 square kilometers and a hosting population of 665,000 people. It consists of 7 administrative districts, and as you may observe, there is an uneven distribution of green areas which are not enough for the densely populated city of Athens. It's calculated by our department that it's less than 7 square meters per inhabitant. Therefore, there is a need to increase green spaces by acquiring new available land and by exploiting the possibility of creating new green spaces in the existing urban fabric. A year ago, Athens released its first resilience strategy, developed with the support of the 100 Resilient Cities, pioneered by the Rockefeller Foundation, as well as its first climate action plan through a unique collaboration between C40 and 100RC. The resilience strategy presents a series of distinct yet connected actions with a clear vision of how the city can best cope with the increasing interdependencies of shocks and stresses. The strategy is framed by 4 pillars, 65 actions and 53 supporting actions, and paves the way for the city that it's open, green, vibrant, and proactive. As stated in our strategy, the city of Athens faces real and significant climate risks, such as heat waves, extreme hot days, and flash floods. These events already affect Athenians today and will become more frequent and intense in the years to come due to climate change. The period 2005 until 2014, Athens experienced 32 days per year with daily maximum temperature over 35 degrees Celsius. Between 2021 and 2050, average summer temperature in Athens are projected to increase by 2 degrees Celsius. While between 2071 and 2100, the projected increase goes up to 4 degrees Celsius. We are already observing a gradual increase in the length and level of high temperatures, as well as in the frequency and intensity of heat waves and other related phenomena such as flash floods and bad air quality. The Athenian urban heat island effect, intensified by the rising heat, exhibits severe temperature differences reaching 6, 7, and even 10 degrees Celsius difference between the city center and its suburbs. The density, anarchy, and the bad quality of our built urban fabric, as well as the lack of green open spaces, are the main culprits. Well, climate change also impacts health, economy, financial activity, environment, and recreation. In the period 2000-2012, an increase in mortality rate of 4.2% was observed for every 1 degree increase in the maximum daily temperature above 31.5 degrees Celsius. This is translated that 432 additional deaths occurred that are related to heat. The probability of occurrence of smog associated with asthma and other respiratory conditions is estimated to increase by 6% every 1 degree Celsius increase in the maximum daily temperature above 22 degrees. In Athens, there has been observed an increase in electricity consumption of 4.1% for every 1 degree increase in temperature, which increases the energy cost for cooling. Surveys also show that there has been a 10% drop in sales at cities such as Athens during heat wave incidents. And last but not least, 2 recent reports that were released highlight the unique risks that Athens faces from extreme heat events. A recent analysis of 571 European cities by the Newcastle University Polytechnic School ranked Athens as the European city facing the single greatest impact from heat waves. Also, in December 2017, Moody's released a report evaluating the credit risks to 30 European cities posed by climate change. Moody's found that Athens ranked highest in terms of exposure to drought and among the top 3 cities at risk for forest fires. Moody's stated that Athens' credit strength will be sensitive to climate change, particularly if heat waves were to depress tourism activity and negatively impact the city's overall economic strength. The Office of Resilience and Sustainability, in collaboration with the National Observatory of Athens and with the assistance of the Bloomberg Associates, conducted a spatial analysis to identify areas in Athens most accessible to heat risks. As you may observe in the middle map, the urban heat island effect affects Athens most severely in the northern and western peripheries, which also lack of green spaces. Much of the vulnerable populations, which are children, elderly people, and low-income households, overlap with these hot zones, particularly in the west areas. Interventions that help to cool the city could be focused in these areas in order to maximize their effectiveness. Therefore, the city is seeking to increase green spaces in available suitable infrastructures, which we identified that can be municipal schoolyards and recently acquired expropriated land. Through the C40 City Solutions Platform program, we target to exploit the most optimal, climate resilient and sustainable solution. These solutions could include green and blue infrastructure, nature-based solution, use of suitable materials and bioclimatic design that, once applied, microclimate will improve, the impact of rising temperatures will be reduced, and the urban heat island effect will be alleviated. Thus, we have looked at available and suitable sites in the 3rd and 4th districts, which are the most accessible districts to heat, and we came up with 1 expropriated building lot and 2 possible schoolyards in the 4th municipal district. The locations of all of them you can spot in the maps provided on the slide. As far as the schools are concerned, the first option is the 25th High School of Athens. It's located on Pilou and Monasteriou streets at the area of Plato's Academy, adjacent to a pedestrianized area close to a square, the Agios Georgios Square. The total surface of the school plot is about 4,000 square meters, a bit less of 3,000 square meters of which is covered by the schoolyard, and the rest is occupied by the school building. The courtyard is covered with asphalt and contains 2 basketball courts. There's a recent topographic survey conducted for the site, as for all of the 3 sites as well. Well, the second option is the 140th Nursery School and the 144th Primary School on Hadjiapostolou and Metochiti streets at Sepolia area. The total surface area of the school plot is about 5,800 square meters, almost 4,700 square meters of which is covered by the schoolyards, and the rest, 1,100, is occupied by the school buildings. The expropriated piece of land that we've picked is on Avlono Street at Sepolia area, and it's about 4,100 square meters. And it's one of the largest abandoned building plots in Athens that the City of Athens has expropriated. It contains all demolished structures, and according to the Greek law, it's designated to become a green space. The neighboring area comprises of schools and housing. Kate, next slide, please. Thank you. In line with our resilience strategy and climate action plan to tackle the impacts described, the city is performing several actions which also tackle the urban heat island effect. And these are construction of green roofs on school buildings, expropriation, land for creation of green areas, park rejuvenation through citizens' engagement. We've run quite a few workshops with co-designing with residents, transformation of building lots into vegetable gardens, and upgrading some of the existing green spaces. In addition, there are 2 major projects in working project at the moment in the municipality in order to increase green areas in the districts that suffer the most from elevated temperatures. One is the Cool Neighborhoods project that aims through innovative interventions to lower and monitor the temperature in 2 selected neighborhoods in Athens, in the 4th municipal district, by using planting, cool materials, introducing parklets and shading elements, and many more. And the other one, it's the Eleonas project. It's part of the ancient olive grove area on the 3rd municipal district, which includes revitalization of an entire district with a complete transformation of expropriated land of 53,000 square meters. This is an industrial site mostly. Okay. So, for our challenge, at this point, we would like to introduce the design parameters, which also for us form the success criteria for the project. So in regard to that, we aim to enhance the green and blue infrastructure. We try to improve the built environment by reducing the local temperature and introducing more surface areas of cold materials. We want to invest on the capacity building of the municipal employees and to rapidly prototype the solution and provide additional benefits for the city, which could be community engagement, job creation, and in general enhance the circular economy. The solution would preferably include investors as anchors or leverage funding and private investment opportunities. Public information and awareness raising of cool campaigns, which we also have a campaign which is called Cool Athens, part of that. And we want to increase the number people reach in those campaigns. For your information, some possible constraints that we'll have to deal with the challenge and with implementing a project in the city may be complex administrative procedures during the implementation of the project, limited maintenance of existing green infrastructure due to shortage of human and financial resources, and also time-consuming collaborations with various authorities and private sector or residents. In order to tackle the challenge efficiently, a combined creation solution is required. Tentative solution providers for the pilot cases we described could be landscape architects, urban planners, designers, specialized agronomists, climate change consultants, and other consultants, engineers for green infrastructure, software developers, researchers, tech specialist companies, financial experts that could help on providing the best financial model for implementing the interventions, and many more. The webinar will also enable the City Solutions platform team to identify further relevant solution providers for the upcoming workshops. Thank you so much for listening to the Athens Challenge, and I'll give the floor to Scott Allison, who will provide us with some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. I know I'll just apologize for the communication. There's been a few people with some audio issues. There is an option down the bottom of the screen where you can set your settings for the audio. You need to enable your computer audio. Just a reminder. Yes, as it was stated there, I will just, we have a number of pre-submitted questions from a number of companies here that I'll just go through, and I recommend, or I would encourage you to write any kind of comments or questions you have in the chat box. So everyone, and then if we have time, we can go through some of these at the end of the call. If not, we will save these questions and we will follow up to ensure that we process this. And your input is very valuable in this process. So I'll just start with kind of some general questions about the process and why Athens is kind of involved in the City Solutions platform. So I'll go ahead with the first question of why go through such an innovation process such as the City Solutions platform, such as this, and not a normal tender or competition for solution providers? So I don't know who would like to answer that from the city.
Oops. Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. Well, we would love to innovate and inspire both ourselves and others. Athens is a city that has gone through a lot and which has found ways to be resilient in the face of much adversity. Now the city is realizing that it's going to bear a heavy burden relating to high temperature in the years to come. Athens will have to change the way it understands and designs its public spaces, taking temperatures as one of the main considerations. We also need to showcase to the municipal staff what is possible, what's desirable, and what's the future. The implementation process has not been determined by the city, and the city is keeping an option to go to tenders, keeping the option of going to tenders open. So, however, it's not a desired path, as it's truly very time-consuming, especially when it introduces new ways of doing things and new materials. We would like to minimize the implementation time by finding an alternative model, including funding, and have a global overview of collaboration with possible solutions providers. I
think that's good enough.
I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, what I could add, and I wonder if Kostas Georgiou is also part of the discussion. The normal period for going through a tender would between the design and the beginning of the designing all the way to the implementation would take many, many months, from like 8 the soonest to a year and a half. So this is a very long period of time, and we would like to have shorter kind of a shorter period of fulfilling the project.
Exactly. I agree with Lenyo.
Okay, yeah, thanks. That's interesting inputs, and I'm sure the companies will in solution this kind of way of working, that looking at a quicker process and would be attractive to them. And obviously, we'd like input from companies from their side. I'll move forward. As you mentioned, the time frame there, but we have a question here about what does the City of Athens need to achieve for community in regards to the urban heat island mitigation, and how will the community resilience benefit from this kind of access to these open space, and how will the community's perspective in these plots that you've identified be included in the process moving forward, and ultimately in the solution itself?
Okay, the main goals include raising awareness regarding the urban heat island effect and its impact on everyday quality of life, promoting public health and cool areas, educating the citizens on soft actions regarding mitigation, and promote replication of actions on the local level. The creation of new open, shady and cool spaces can enhance social cohesion and provide meeting spaces for the local communities. Athens has a strong outdoor element in its social life, and high temperature tend to lead people indoors, separating groups and communities as public spaces become too hot and unwelcoming for people to actually go and enjoy them. The Office of Resilience and Sustainability has acquired important experience regarding inclusive procedures. The solutions can be co-developed and implemented with the local communities via a range of tools such as online surveys, thematic workshops, focus groups, and other outreach activities. The preferred mix should be designed with all the relevant partners and could be part of the procedure. Yes.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. So just to follow up on that, so the community, will there be community organizations invited along to all the activities as part of the City Solutions platform, or you will be capturing kind of their inputs outside of this?
Well, we would prefer if we have the communities engaged in the process. Now, depending on what the solution will be, we will see at which level we could best benefit from the inclusion of the community into the project.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much.
Something that Athens has been very much focusing on. This is part of the current mayor's legacy in leaving to the city. That it's the first mayor that really has put an effort in creating community engagement in all types of solutions that we have brought to the city. So this is something that we have the knowledge and we know how to kind of implement.
Okay, thank you very much. I can see we're getting a few comments and questions in the chat box. I will look to follow those up. Hopefully we'll have some time after these. We just have a few more kind of pre-submitted questions. Yeah, thanks and I encourage you to keep writing your comments and questions in the chat box. We have more of a technical question here of, as this project now is, from the project perspective, is it an open call for integrated urban designs, or you're asking for more tested technical solutions? And actually, I think it will be quite interesting for the participants on the call here today to kind of know what type of skills. I know you've mentioned which organizations you would, or companies you're looking for. What type of skills are you looking for from the solution providers in terms of a solution moving forward in this process?
Well, this is an open call to a wide range of possible solution providers that can include integrated urban design areas as well as tested technical solutions. As it was presented, a combined CREATE solution is required in order to tackle and monitor the challenge efficiently in the best possible way. So solutions providers need to be thinking out of the box and be inspiring and have some working knowledge on local Athenian conditions. And they need to be able to collaborate efficiently with other solution providers and be flexible and creative in order to tackle issues arising from city administrative and legal processes. The materials, among others, could include shading elements, planting, phytotechnology, school materials, renewable energy solutions, monitoring equipment, and many more. We also would like to consider nature-based solution as far as this would be optimal for the sites. Hope it covered.
Yeah, okay, thanks. To build upon that, those comments there, you went through a number of kind of options there in terms of types of solutions. But from your perspective, have any blue-green solutions for mitigating the urban heat island effects already been identified by the city? And how is this kind of connected to other aspects of resilience in terms of the importance of collecting rainwater, etc.?
Right. Blue-green solutions for mitigating the urban heat island effect have been identified as possible solutions in the climate adaptation plan and in our resilience strategy. And it's of great interest for the City of Athens. Green infrastructure can limit the urban temperature increase and improve the city's microclimate. So one of the main actions is to create green corridors that will connect green areas in the city, as well as the creation of blue corridors by reviving existing water streams, for example. These actions are all described in the climate, in our strategy in the climate action plan. For this specific project, the rainwater collection solutions would be of great interest, especially if they're used in a circular way.
Okay, yes, thanks for that. I think that's very interesting for a number of organizations here. And hopefully we will document all these kind of answers to these questions, and we'll share it with everyone. We have a question here more from the financial perspective. And kind of what are your initial thoughts? You've discussed that you would like a different kind of tender process to kind of speed up the process a little bit. What are your thoughts about the financial models or considerations for potential solutions in these kind of initial abandoned spaces that you would like to use in this project? And how do you envision kind of scaling possible solutions that come out of this city solutions platform here, and kind of the model of that across Athens itself?
Costa, would you like to answer this question?
Yes. So we have about the financial models, you mean, the question?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So in the city of Athens, as in every city in Greece, every year we draft the annual technical program, which every city directorate proposes to the top management of the city, which are the projects to be included in the budget and in the technical program of the upcoming year. So that way, during the period starting from this September 2018, all city directorates, in collaboration with the Office of the General Secretary, will start designing and drafting the projects that will be included in the technical program for 2019 and so on, and for 2020, etc., etc. So there are many projects that will continue implementing from 2018, but every directorate also proposes for new projects that will be included in the technical program and being funded by the city budget. So this is one way to fund a solution. The other way is that recently the City of Athens signed for an EIB loan, a loan from European Investment Bank. This loan is 50 million euros, which is also, this money have been allocated for projects inside the technical program. Alongside with this loan, the city now discussing with EIB for an extra loan that is the NCFF loan of EIB, which is the natural capital funding facility, that with this money, which is approximately 6.2 million euros, I think, will be allocated specifically for green and blue infrastructures. Currently, we are discussing with EIB about the projects that will be included in this loan. And the happy thing, the thing that the EIB give us with this loan is that the technical assistance, so the maturity studies and the tender documents, are given for free by EIB in this framework. So this is another solution for the City of Athens. And the third solution is that the City of Athens has money from structural funds, from European structural funds, which is about 85 million euros that are given to the city in order to proceed with projects that are allocated in a specific area in the city center. So this is also another way to fund projects.
Okay, Kostas, thanks for that. That was a very detailed answer there. And as I mentioned before, we'll send through some documents after the webinar about some of these answers so all the solution providers can see this. We still have maybe 5 minutes for some questions, and I know there's some questions in the chat box, and there's one that maybe I can answer myself just briefly. I can see Mattia from the University of Naples has just asked, how will we manage the choice between alternative solutions provided by different solution providers, and at the Athens workshop, are you expecting solution providers to showcase their solutions and fields as expertise covered? The workshop itself, which Kate will go through the next steps shortly, is focusing on co-creation. So it's not directly showcasing your solutions, but you'll have an opportunity there to kind of work in groups together with other organizations and companies that your solutions can build upon. And we're looking for system solutions here, looking at the bigger scale. So hopefully that's covered that. And if you have any questions to that, you can always reach myself.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, go ahead.
We really are looking for something that we could prototype, something that could be then scaled up to other expropriated lots that we have and other schoolyards that we have. So we really are looking for something that is an approach that, and this is why this is a very exciting workshop for us. That an approach that could bring elements that could create the specs for how the different departments will be working, both the urban nature department and the technical works department in Athens, on how to further consider the way to design and implement the development of areas, both in lots as well as in playgrounds. So this is for us, what we're looking for is kind of a showcasing in a way of solutions that we can then kind of streamline within the municipality.
Okay, yes, thanks for that. I think we just have there's been a couple of other questions here that are in the chat box. We don't have time to go through all of them, but I can see Pedro has kind of asked a bit more technical question about if you could tell us a little bit about the geotechnical characteristics or permeability of the soil of which Athens is built on. Maybe you don't have the answer right now, that's okay, but that's a question. I don't know if you can answer that.
These technical questions, I think we can easily provide after the workshop material for people to read and go through. So we will provide you some information regarding that after the webinar. Okay, great.
Thanks for that, Elizabeth. I guess we can move on, and it's been, yeah, thanks for the Q&A session here and the inputs. And as I mentioned, we'll follow up any sort of questions here. And we will ensure that this kind of material that was just stated, that all the participants will get inputs and have the opportunity to kind of follow up with other comments and questions after the webinar. So I'll pass it back to Kate, who will kind of wrap up and tell us about the next steps moving forward. Kate?
Great, thank you very much, Scott. And actually, just back to Elizabeth and Lenio, if you have any kind of final comments or just wrap up thoughts, please do feel free just to kind of say anything now before I do the next steps.
No, you should go for the next steps.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much for your presentations today. They've been really useful and very inspiring. And initially bringing it back to your forward at the beginning, Lenio, if anyone has any additional help they can offer the City of Athens, again, we would encourage you either to contact myself or Scott Allison or the Resiliency Office for the City of Athens directly. And thank you again for joining the webinar today. I hope it's given you a good sense of just the scale of the challenge within Athens at the moment, particularly in light of the recent events. And our thoughts from C40 and CLEAN are definitely with the people of Athens at this time. But I also hope that the webinar has given you an initial idea of some of the solutions which you're working on which could help the city. And actually bringing in the C40 network, there are many other cities that are also struggling with a similar urban heat island effect challenge. And potentially any ideas or solutions that you work with through this challenge could also be scaled up across the C40 city network. Through the webinar at the workshop, which will be the 25th and 26th of September this year, 2018, you'll have the opportunity to work directly with the City of Athens and then maintain some of the momentum from your solutions that will be jointly created and hopefully implemented. And that's the exciting bit, being able to actually implement some of these ideas within the 3 areas that Elizabeth mentioned before. So that's one that's very encouraging. So following this webinar, we have recorded it, so we will send the final link around. There will be additional technical information which we will also send to you all about the sites, and we will finally answer any of the additional questions that have been in the chat box. If you are interested in attending the workshop, which will be hosted in the City of Athens, again on the 25th and 26th of September, please either let myself know or Scott Allison. You should have his email address from the calendar invitation. And we look forward to seeing you there. So thank you very much for joining.
Chat.